welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, I'm so glad you could make it. We all came from work this morning, which is great.
Yeah.
Been a wild morning, but dude, thank you so much for coming on. We've wanted to have you on here for a while, so this is gonna be really cool. But to start off with, dude, you're shredded. Okay, I'm gonna say this right now. I do like women. I don't care who you love, whoever you sleep with, but dude, you are looking good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's been a lot of hard work. I started in a pretty. I was in a low spot, and I lost 82 pounds over the course of a year. So,
82 pounds?
I got after it.
Yo!
Yeah, I was like, ring it.
That's awesome.
Dude, I was telling my wife about you were coming on today, and it was a little short story, but I hadn't seen you in a while since a training thing, maybe like a year plus before. And this is probably right when you were starting your journey there. And we had a call together, and it was probably like a minute or so into the call, and I think I stopped and I introduced myself to you because, it's like you meet so many people and sometimes it's like hard to remember, but I was like, we did the training thing for quite a while, and you looked at me like, what the... And it took me a second because I don't think there wasn't a name or anything. And then I'm like, Cory?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah. Like, what's your deal, dude? And I'm like, oh my God, you look amazing. Which is, anyway, but it's like, dude, what a process, man.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, I get it. I don't hold it against anybody. It's actually kind of it feels nice, to say, wow, I had such a transformation that people don't even recognize me. So, but the physical transformation isn't even the best part. If I could do a before and after picture of my mind and spirit, it would match or far surpass what a picture of my physical appearance actually did. So just the journey to get there, you don't lose 82 pounds without changing some shit up and doing a deep dive into your life and your systems and your beliefs, your standards and values and all of that. And you can't accomplish that without, taking that deep dive. So the physical appearance is just a
small part of it, huh?
Yeah. It's a physical representation of the discipline, accountability, the leveling up I did, and all the other aspects of my life and my marriage and my relationship with my kids and all that. So,
gosh, yeah, that's been awesome. That's cool. You hit on that too, because it's not like that happens overnight, right? Putting on weight or where you were, right? It's a process that happens over time.
Yeah.
So, what was there a specific moment in your life, whether it's at work or at home, where you thought to yourself, okay, I need to change. Something's wrong here. I don't like the way I'm living or the way I feel. Was there a moment that came where it just snapped into you?
Yeah, there was. I don't know if it was so much like an acute pinpoint moment, but there was something going on where, for years I'd been putting on weight and drinking more and more and becoming more and more unhappy. And I mean, my self-talk to myself, I said shit to myself on a daily basis I wouldn't say to my worst enemy. So depression had set in. I was drinking too much. And it just started snowballing. And then you start giving yourself all these excuses of why you can't change. I'm too old. I'm 48 years old.
You look 48, bro.
I just became a fucking grandfather, dude.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
What?
Congratulations.
That's so rad.
I'm a grandfather, and I am in the best shape of my entire life.
Hell yeah.
I'm showing up as the best version of me for my wife and my kids and now my grandson, the best version of me that's ever walked this earth.
That's beautiful.
And so when I was in that dark spot, I used to look back to the me that was in my 30s as the pinnacle. Hey, that's where I need to get. And not only did I get there, I far surpassed that.
Oh, you blew past it.
That was like a limitation I was putting on myself. But so to answer your question, God, there's so much to unpack that goes with that. But as things got worse and worse, you start making excuses for yourself. I'm too old. I'm too injured. I've had back surgery. This is just the way it is, And then I started thinking, I'm almost 50 and I feel horrible and I can't move and I'm just groggy and I'm surviving my life.
Ooh.
I'm not
That's heavy.
I'm not living. I'm
Yeah.
just not dying, you know? And Benjamin Franklin actually had a quote that said, most men die at the age of 25.
I just saw that today, yeah.
We just don't get around to burying them until they're 75.
Oh, dude.
Wow.
And that's exactly how I felt. I felt like I was walking around in this shell just waiting for my time to die. And that sounds dramatic and morbid and all that. And I am only 48 years old. It's not like I'm over the hill yet.
Yeah.
But when you are depressed, that's what that feels like. You feel that over dramatization of, you know, I felt hopeless. That's where I was. And with our job and with sleep deprivation compounded over 25 years, because I've been doing this for over 25 years now, I realized something was wrong and I was not headed in the right direction. And I felt like I was speeding towards a cliff and the brakes were out on my vehicle.
Damn.
I wasn't suicidal or anything like that. But I felt like the rest was hopeless. And if 50 felt like this, what was 70 going to be like?
No.
And would I even be able to move at 70? Would I even make it to 70? And I'm nearing the end of my career.
Yeah.
I'm not only on the back nine, like I only have a couple holes left.
You're running to home base, bro.
Yeah.
You want to slide in.
Exactly. And I couldn't help but think, am I going to be one of those guys that retires and then just dies right away? You know, that doesn't even get to enjoy the retirement.
Yeah.
So I was reaching a fever pitch as far as everything was kind of coming to a head, and I was in a pretty bad spot, dark spot. And I even used to say to my wife, so my wife and I have only been together 8.5 years. So she never knew the younger version of me, the one that I used to think was the better version of me.
Yeah.
And all she saw was this overweight man that hated himself, that was depressed, that was angry, that was volatile, that drank too much, that, you know, just sat on the couch and sedated so that I could turn my brain off. Because I didn't want to feel the thoughts that were going through my head. I just wanted to zone out, you know, and just not participate. And not only was I doing that for my wife, but that was the example I was setting for my kids, you know. Hey, it's okay. I don't have to work hard. Dad doesn't. I don't have to worry about my health or what I eat or anything like that, because Dad doesn't. I was giving my kids excuses of why they didn't have to be certain things, because they could just point to me and say, well, Dad didn't. He was fine.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't fine, you know?
Yeah.
So I used to say to my wife, I'm sorry you never got to see the best version of me.
Oh, man.
Which is a pretty crappy place to be, because that was, I'd given up. I'd acknowledged that I was done and that it was never going to get any better. Because I had, like all of us, I had every few months, I have my day one of my diet pictures in my phone, right? Okay, this time I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Start Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next Monday.
And then you shit the bed by Wednesday.
Right.
And you're like, oh, well, I'll start again next Monday. So until then, I might as well just drink as much as I can and hit Taco Bell as much as I can.
Right.
And then Monday comes and you go, well, I'll start next Monday. And then any time that I tried to quit, it actually got worse. I got heavier. Same thing with chewing for me over the years. I used to chew tobacco like 1.5 cans a day.
All of us, brother.
Yeah. And I mean, you guys remember me from back in the day, just a huge hammer in at all times. And that's what I was known for. And anytime I tried to quit chewing, I ended up coming back just ravenously and chewing more than I did before the time that I quit. So it was pretty, to fast forward, it was extremely rewarding for me to be able to tell my wife, I can say with confidence that you are getting the best version of me that ever walked this earth, and I'm not done.
I love it.
I know I'm not perfect. I never will be. There's no destination that I will ever reach. Like, oh, I'm there.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm dedicated to trying to get there to a spot I know I'll never hit.
It's so powerful what you're saying, dude, because I know this might be weird. I'm trying not to get emotional while you're talking because you hit on a few things that hit home for me and that I've struggled with through the years. I've only have 16 years on. All of us got plenty of years on. That mental game's hard. And I do think, our career choice does play into that, the lack of sleep like you talked about. And I know for me, I've gone to some very dark places because of self-esteem issues, not feeling good enough, and it just compounds. And you keep going, and whether it's a bravado thing, saying I don't need help or whatever it is, you start making bad choices. And I mean bad choices as far as diet. You start clinging to things that make you feel good. Some people it's sex, some people it's alcohol, some it's drugs, whatever it may be. And it starts to play out in your life, and you get comfortable. And I always tell people, comfort's a slow death. You got to be willing to get a little bit dirty and a little uncomfortable to push yourself to that next level. And, a lot of people look up to you, man. I know I do, coming from where we did and working where we're at now. And
I appreciate that.
Yeah. And, you have that leadership position, and to see someone as yourself be raw, open, and honest, and look internally and say, okay, there's a problem here. I need to fix it. And it's not even just for work, but deeper, for yourself, for your family, for your wife. I just want to say, dude, I'm proud of you, man. I seen the transformation. We've all watched it. People talk about it. Have you seen Cory?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I've seen Cory, dude. Wash my clothes off his stomach, dude. Look at those abs, boy.
Yeah, definitely jealous.
Yeah, but it's motivating. It's motivating to see, and it's like, okay, if someone like that can do it, I can do it. I can pull myself out of a dark place, because I still struggle with that. I still struggle with self-esteem issues and feeling good enough, and I got to get out of my head. And for me, it is working out. It's going out when I get home. I go for runs. I used to do ultra marathons. I'm training for another one. It's a lot of running. It's a lot different, but getting out and getting that physical exercise, and that for me, that releases that stress, and for me, that tension mentally. And I get, for whatever reason, I get more clarity after cycling or running or going for a swim. And I'm like, okay, I can take this day on. I can do it. And I think it's beautiful. The journey that you've gone through, and others have done it as well. It shows that it's not impossible. That, I can see what you're saying, where it's like, I was just surviving. I was just living like, hey, when's my time up? I remember thinking for myself a few years back, there's got to be more to life than this.
Yeah.
But it's up to me to make that decision.
Yeah.
I got to put the work in and see where I can push myself and how far I can go, because there are people relying on us, and there are people outside of work that do look up to us in our families and our lives and the things that we do. And what you're doing, what you've done, and just the way you're presenting yourself now is really different from when I first met you. You look happier.
Oh yeah.
Your countenance on your face is completely different. You seem way more motivated, and that's powerful, dude. That's going to inspire more people than you think. A lot more people than you think, dude. So it's talking about this right now. It's hard for me not to get emotional, because it's a lot of people can't relate with us because of what we do. And I've said this before here in this podcast, but it's very interesting in our career field. It's not just like this lack of sleep and all that, but I think I was reading something in an article that said most people, average people, maybe see one or two people violently die in front of them in their lifetime, right? We see it on a shiftly basis, right? And we just tuck that away. right? And you bury it and all this stuff. But that stuff plays a huge part, man. And I had to realize, and for me, that's why we support, therapy on here big time for first responders and doing that. I think it's huge and important. I do it. But man, just how much the physical fitness, your mental health, spiritual, whatever other people do, how all that plays into each other. I'm so glad you said it's not just the physical. Yeah. But you're saying there's a transformation that's happening inside of you mentally, emotionally, with your family, and that's powerful, man. It really is.
Yeah. It's go
ahead.
Yeah, no, I just you said there's a lot to unpack, if you will, on what you're talking about. But one of the points that you were talking about, as far as like the day-to-day, like coming up with excuses for yourself, right? And I think it's that's a common. Not everyone in this profession, but a lot of people probably feel the same way. And I can attest to like a lot of things you're saying. I'm like, I get it with every bit of my being. Like I totally understand that, because, it kind of popped in my head is like, maybe a little bit is about that is because the process of going through this profession, getting the job, being successful within the job, there's so many things that you have to accomplish, right? And then now you're doing this, okay, I've gotten to this place at work, and then I'm trying to balance my home life as well. And all these things take a tremendous amount of effort within itself. And it's like, once you hit that, I think it's natural to feel that kind of cruise control. Yeah. Right. But within that cruise control feeling, you get a lot of the excuses, right? Because it's like, hey, okay, I'm working a 96 this week, and it's like, I got one day off. Am I going to waste the day with, okay, whether you go to the gym or work out at home or go running on these times, especially when if you have family stuff. So it's like, you're already limited within that time and experience. Am I going to go to the gym at 4 o'clock in the morning? Yeah. Am I going to, I only got one day to sleep until like 7. Okay. Am I going to waste that extra 2 hours instead of going to the gym? Or maybe I'm going to meal prep today, but I got to go to the store. Everything is so, I feel like, time dependent. So we kind of have a tendency, or at least for me personally, I feel like it's easier sometimes to say like, you know what, screw it. I'm not going to deal with that. And then the next thing you know, I'm 8 beers into the day, and not like as a lush, but just drinking throughout the day, just because, hey, a little bit of that numb factor, a little bit of whatever, we'll do whatever. Well, over X amount of years, that catches up to you, and then you find yourself in the position, which I thought you did a really good job explaining, is that you kind of just, it's not, you said it's not about living, it's really more I survive day to day. And not in the way of like I'm mentally to the point of when I hurt myself or anything along those lines, but just your day-to-day factors of just kind of just accepting this is who I am instead of what I know that I can be, right? And so you're kind of in that constant struggle of like, I know I can put out the more effort, but I already feel like I'm putting out a ton of effort. So what is that? How do I propel myself moving forward? And I think that's very like, we don't fucking talk about it. You know what I mean? As much. But inside, there's no way you don't feel that way. Yeah. Because everyone knows what the effort is that you have to do. Everyone knows how much time and, things take on people. But it's like, where do you find that extra bit? And, some people, it's like, okay, I hit a block in my life and I absolutely have to change. And the unfortunate part about that is that a lot of people will, instead of finding that feeling and propelling forward and doing the things that, we have those examples, including yourself, right, of how I can change myself and be better physically, mentally, spiritually, and all that. Like, what is that block? Like, why aren't we all doing that? You know what I mean? And not to say that because it's not easy, clearly, and everyone can attest to that. But it's like, what is that factor? And I just think like having people like yourself and showing that, look, you can do it. And we talk about that a lot on this show, as far as like, pushing yourself, getting better, doing stuff, making yourself, putting yourself in uncomfortable positions. And sometimes that uncomfortable position is just waking up an hour earlier. Yeah. It's hey, you know what? Instead of, it's like, yo, fucking Bob made some cheesecake again, which is bomb, but I can't fucking eat it. Yeah. Like I got to stop. I got to cut somewhere, So
it's intentional. It's intentionally putting yourself in places to suffer, intentional suffering, and waking up a half an hour earlier than you used to. That's not even suffering. It's you get the opportunity to do that. Yeah. What the suffering was looking at myself in the mirror and fucking hating myself. That was true suffering. And I appreciate you saying that other people have been inspired, because just a little over a year ago, I couldn't even inspire myself.
Damn.
So to be able to go from not being able to inspire change from yourself into inspiring others to change
Yeah.
is awesome.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Very
And
powerful.
it makes it all that much more worth it. And you also brought up that I am in a leadership position in our department.
Yeah.
However, I felt like a leader in title only, because even though I wore captain's bugles and I was academy coordinator and I was an instructor and I did all this stuff that put me in the position of leader, what did my outward appearance say about myself? I was, by being so overweight, like I've had countless probationary firefighters assigned to me, paramedic interns. I'm in charge of recruits. I was in charge of cadres, all that. I can say all the words I want and regurgitate all the leadership books and leadership education that I'd done. And I could say, listen to me, hey, keep your foot on the gas, be the best firefighter you can be, do this, stay engaged, blah, 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 right?
Right.
But by being so overweight, I'm a walking billboard for the fact that I can't control my impulses. I can't control what I put in my mouth.
Yeah.
I lack discipline. I lack accountability. And I don't do the things that I'm telling you to do. Why would you follow me?
Dude.
And the question that I used to ask myself is, would I follow me? And the answer was no. So I felt like a fraud. And when I would get off the engine with my crew, I remember what it feels like to be a young fireman.
Yeah.
Getting off the engine with a fat captain. For you to truly respect your captain and to want to follow them, like to the edge of the earth, to the gates of hell.
Right.
You want to look at that guy and go, that guy is a badass.
Yeah.
Not only does he know the job, has the experience, but he can still do the job. I know if the shit hit the fan that guy could get after it.
Right.
That's what you want to feel in your leader, right?
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely.
And I knew that I wasn't that guy.
Yeah.
I wasn't being that guy. And I'd somehow let it slip away. And so I had already felt that way about myself. And then we went to do inspections one day and we split up. And half of my crew was already back at the rig. And myself and the engineer were walking back, and they were talking to a civilian in the parking lot who apparently was a retired guy from another department. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I walk up, he says to me in front of my crew, "You're the captain?" Ooh. And I said, "Yeah."
Damn. Dick.
And he's like, "Why do you have the biggest belly out of everybody here?"
No, he didn't.
No.
Out loud. Yeah, I wanted to punch the guy in the face.
Was it an old guy?
Corey.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
dude.
You're like, hey.
He's like, "You're supposed to be the example for your crew." And it cut right. As much as I wanted to punch this guy in the mouth,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
he was spitting truth.
Yeah.
And
Oh, my God.
I was absolutely humiliated.
Oh, that had to hurt, dude.
In front of my crew. And I went home feeling like I can't even explain how humiliated I was, because I felt like this guy just exposed me in front of my crew. He pulled the curtain back and let them know exactly how I feel about myself. And I was like, wow, at first glance, this guy thought that. So what does my crew actually think of me? Now, of course, in your own mind, we're our own worst critic, and we assume things that aren't true, because I would assume that my wife felt a certain way about me, that she swears, "Hey, I never felt that way about you." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you always assume the worst. So you think your wife thinks this, your kids think this, your crew thinks this.
I'm the same way, dude.
But that guy just pulled the curtain. It's like he pantsed me in front of like the Hawaiian Tropic.
Straight up, dude. Yeah.
And that was right before I kind of made the change. And you asked if there was that one moment. Well, it was briefly before that. It was when I had the realization that I had accepted my fate, that I was done trying to get better. I was like, well, this is it, and it's all downhill from there. Mm-hmm. But I did reach out and start going the utilizing the mental health resources that the department had.
Yes. Excellent.
So I had started on that. And then I was also I was taking classes to finish my bachelor's. And one of the classes I was doing, I wrote a paper on sleep deprivation in firefighters. And that's where I kind of educated myself on that aspect of it, and realized that, because I used to blame the department and our job, right? We're getting forced all the time, and I can't control the calls. So, which is correct. There are certain things that we can't control, but there are many things that we can control about our sleep that I wasn't controlling. And just this thing right here, cell phone. Mm-hmm. So what do most of us do? I may not be able to control when we get calls, but I can control my bedtime.
Yeah.
And I can control not exposing myself to that blue light before I go to bed, engaging my brain.
That's sleep hygiene, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can control not getting on social media and being fed the stuff that they know is going to upset me because it keeps me engaged longer.
Very good point.
So it doesn't matter which side you're on politically or whatever. You're being fed the stuff that they know will piss you off. Mm-hmm. So
it's so true.
I'm staying awake way longer than I need to, not because I'm doing anything productive, but because I'm playing fucking Candy Crush or on Instagram, right?
Yeah, Candy Crush. Yeah.
Or going down rabbit holes on YouTube.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I've just sacrificed 2 hours of sleep doing that. And I'm going to bed agitated and pissed off. And then as soon as I wake up, I grab my phone again and I pick up where I left off.
Right.
And piss myself off again. Mm-hmm. And I'm starting my day agitated. Well, what does that look like when I go home now? How does that impact my family when I walk through the door? And I've heard a bunch of wives say, even kids, which dad is coming home today?
Ooh.
It's not just me.
Yeah.
It's all of us.
I've heard that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So they hear that door handle and they're like, everybody be on alert.
Game on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I had to learn also in this process was I had to learn how to come home. I destroyed my first marriage over not knowing how to do it. And when I did utilize those mental health resources, I remember, I know I'm all over the place.
No, you're
No,
fine.
you're
This
doing
is
good.
great, dude. This is awesome.
I remember saying to the counselor, I said, I don't understand. I used to be able to do this standing on my head. I used to be able to work all this overtime. I never got fatigued. I could do this. Mm-hmm. And she said to me, the difference between now and when you were younger is when you were younger, you hadn't been doing it for 25 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was reaching saturation. Mm-hmm. And I just, it was showing. The cracks in the dam were showing.
Well, hell yeah.
And they weren't just cracks anymore. There were gaping holes that were just, I was taking on water big time.
Yeah.
So it was that realization, and then I started with trying to fix my mind first. And going back to the sleep deprivation thing too, it all ties together. So when we would get those wake ups, then you come back and I would get on my phone again in between calls.
And that keeps you up longer, right?
Keeps you up longer.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you get another call where you could have had another hour of sleep if you just put your phone down.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you're never hitting REM sleep. And REM sleep is where all your body repair happens. Processing of your emotions as well. You start putting things in the storage units that they're supposed to belong in. during REM sleep. If you're depriving yourself or never giving yourself an opportunity to hit REM sleep, you're not getting that repair done. And the cycle it's a continuous loop. So not only was I not processing my emotions, but my body wasn't being repaired. I was doing other things to not hit REM sleep, like on my nights off, being heavily sedated with booze before I went to bed.
Yeah.
That prevents you from hitting REM sleep or getting good quality sleep and waking up feeling groggy and shitty the next day. Because I was so overweight, I had sleep apnea, which prevents you from hitting REM sleep because you're interrupting yourself so many times. I had a sleep study done so many times per hour. I was interrupting my sleep because I wasn't breathing.
Damn.
That can't be good.
Damn. No.
Fact.
Not at all.
Fact. Okay, let me write that. Yeah. Not breathing is bad.
Yeah.
Not breathing. Going to bed hammered.
Just so everybody knows.
Yeah,
Make
I was
sure
like,
you
all
breathe.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was having like anywhere from like 6 to 8 interruptions per hour.
That's terrible.
Oh, wow.
That's terrible.
Waking up with headaches.
Yeah.
With a sore throat from the snoring so bad, and it sweat like I'd be soaked. It turns out that your body sees it as a stress when you're not breathing.
It all makes sense.
Yeah. It's all coming together. Right.
And then my wife, I'd wake up some mornings and she'd be in a different room, you know? So I ended up getting on a CPAP and all that, but it all kind of ties together. So you see how over time it just compounds and you spiral further down the hole.
Yeah.
And then you wind up in a spot that you can't see out of.
Yeah.
And so by starting to take control of my sleep and my mental health, you know, meditations, I was trying float therapy, I was trying brain paint, the stuff that the department offered. And I even, they wanted to put me off for a month over the holidays. And I'm like, no, I'm not that guy, you know?
Right.
And they said, well, okay, we'll put you off, you know, when the holidays are over. And I said, no, just how about the do not force list for a month? Just let me work my 10.
Yeah.
And that was enough for me to kind of recalibrate, reset. And then something came across my path. I did not seek this out. It was just dumb luck because I had still given up. I was still not, I'm never going to try and lose weight again. And then you guys probably all heard the Superhuman Fathers program, started by a guy that works for our department.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about it. And it's probably better that way, that I was blissfully ignorant. Because if I would have known what I ended up doing to achieve the results that I got,
Yeah.
I would have said, fuck you.
You're like, nah.
You want me to do what?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
I would have said, no way. And it would have been just so, it was just so out there
Yeah.
that I never would have agreed to any of it.
Well, you're wearing a shirt right now.
Yep.
I love it, dude.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, it was a game changer.
Yeah. So speaking of the Superhuman Fathers, you said you kind of stumbled upon that. Now, this is the program that got you to where you're at now, right?
Yes.
After you started with mental first, right? Which is absolutely important. And you went to the Superhuman Fathers. So what does that entail in Superhuman Fathers?
Well, it's interesting because I had already planned on it being another failure.
Okay.
When I joined. So there's a guy, Ross, that works for our department, and he won't mind me. I'm not speaking out of school. Ross had lost a ton of weight. He was at a neighboring fire station. I used to see him on a regular basis, and he was just disappearing before my eyes. And I would ask him, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And Ross, he and I didn't know each other well. We're good friends now. But you know how it is with firemen. You start doing one thing and everybody just heckles you, talks shit.
Oh, of course.
You know, next thing you know, your picture's up on the refrigerator with dicks drawn on your face, and you know all that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so Ross was hesitant. He was like, "Oh, you know, just move more, eat less. I'm like, really?
Thanks,
So simple,
dude.
huh?
Yeah.
Got it. Calories in, calories out. You're like, fuck you.
So it wasn't even him that told me about the program. It was when we had a battalion chief that was just starting the program, down like 17 pounds, worked at our station. I said, hey, we cook brunch on the weekends. Thinking, hey, this is team building, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to make you a 3,000 calorie lunch. It's going to make you want to go take a nap afterwards.
Yeah.
So he's like, no, I'm kind of doing my own thing. And I'm like, all right, I respect that. And then later I saw him measuring and weighing his food and stuff, which sounds ridiculous, but it's once you get the hang of it, it's actually, it becomes a game. You're playing Tetris with your calories and your macros for the day and all that. So anyway, he was the one, I said, all right, what are you doing? And then he was the one that told me, hey, this is how Ross lost all the weight. So then it really got me going, because the BC that was working there, he wasn't overweight. So you don't relate to people like that when you're as heavy as I was, right? So you want to see the example of somebody that looks like you. And by him putting Ross's name on it, that's when I was like, oh my God, because he was heavy.
Yeah.
We actually belong to a group within Superhuman Fathers called the Vikings. They also have a first responder group within.
That's awesome.
Within Superhuman Fathers, but the Vikings are the big boys, the ones that are in the mud the longest, the ones that we don't join and have 20 pounds to lose and then we're shredded.
Right.
We're not those guys. We're the ones that are like, I don't think I can do this. And my journey took a year. Ross's took a year. There's a guy, Ox, in there that it took him, he's been at it over a year. He's lost 115 pounds.
Love it, dude. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, dude.
So we're the guys that it really gets, we have to find that next level of ourselves. We have to dig deep into our souls to find that discipline and that accountability. So they said, yeah, Kyle Carnahan, and again, he won't mind me sharing his name. He's the founder of Superhuman Fathers, used to work for our department, became so successful as a result of Superhuman Fathers, he just resigned. He
Good for
retired
him.
from the fire department.
Good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, congratulations.
Stay healthy, bro.
Yeah. So I called him just thinking, hey, bro, give me my macros, because my wife has tried to help me for years. My wife is in shape. She's beautiful. She's a earner. Like, my wife is the bomb. And that's why it felt so shitty to know that she had always given me her best version and I wasn't returning the favor. So my wife had actually taught me how to count macros years ago, and I tried and failed. So I figured I would contact Kyle and say, hey, bro, give me my macros, give me some workouts to do. I'll lose 20, 30 pounds. And then, well, I didn't tell him this, but I'll lose 20, 30 pounds and I'll just fail again. But this was my one more try. Because I wasn't even planning on trying again to lose weight. But like I said, it was just dumb luck, kismet, fate, whatever you want to call it, came across my path. And I was like, okay, I'll give this one more try. Now, anyone that knows Kyle, if you've seen his stuff on YouTube or whatever, he is an intense individual.
Yes.
And
yes, to say the least.
yeah.
Yes.
And I saw his picture and I couldn't even identify with that. Like a jacked, ripped, shredded guy. Like, that wasn't me. I've been in shape before at other points in my life, but it didn't resonate with me because I couldn't relate to him. And so I spoke with him, and he's so intense. It's like if Hulk Hogan from the 80s had a kid with Dog the Bounty Hunter, like, are you your brother's keeper? Take your vitamins, brother. Like,
Totally.
that's him.
That's it. I love it.
Yeah, and I love the guy. I'm not talking smack. I love that about him. And he's at the end of our conversation, he says, I need to hear you say it. And I go, say what? He's like, I'm fucking in.
All intense, dude.
And I'm like, I'm fucking in?
I'm fucking
Yeah. I'm Ron Burgundy. I'm in.
yeah.
And he's like, and then he goes, woo! like gives me the Ric Flair.
That's so awesome, dude.
And so I hang up and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I just signed up for.
Like, well, that was weird.
Yeah.
All right.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
So I go home, I tell my wife, and she was super supportive. She'd always wanted this for me, but she knew she couldn't want it for me, right?
Yeah.
And I'd also made the conversation so uncomfortable to where she couldn't even bring it up anymore because I would get so defensive and so just put the kibosh on it. Just, no, we are not going there because of how bad I felt about myself. And the thing is like, I had backed myself into a corner that I couldn't get out of by my way of thinking. And that was, I am a piece of shit because I am so overweight and I'm so undisciplined and I can't change it. And I knew I had 80 pounds to lose, but I had also programmed in my brain that it was impossible to lose that. So therefore, you are stuck. Because if you think you're a piece of shit until you lose that 80 pounds and you also believe that it's impossible to lose that, there's no way out.
You kind of like mentally defeat yourself, right?
Yeah.
You buy in on your own bullshit.
Exactly.
And that, which is like probably the most common thing with just people in general, especially I think with like, you know, and obviously a lot of these examples we use within this profession, but because it's like everyone is geared very similarly.
Yeah.
And I want to touch on something you said earlier too, as far as like, it's so hard to be motivating in yourself when the examples that you have around you are already past what you think you can be. And it's like, you know, the fire service is an interesting one in the fact where it's like, you know, it's like, yeah, you got to be physical, you got to be strong, you got to work together and have a good mentality and all these factors of success in living this like balanced lifestyle. You have to be able to do most of them, but it's really difficult when you have the mental and physical setting where you're not comfortable with yourself, and then you like and which is interesting that you bring him up with Superhuman Fathers, because example wise he's one of those guys, at least to me, because I've met him a handful of times, I had an opportunity to work with him, great guy, like and very the Hulk Hogan, Dog the Bounty Hunter, is his close. And I want to share just a quick story. Within 2 minutes of meeting this guy, I was working in overtime with him. Very genuine person, very nice person, very open. You know, talking about his life story a little bit, very interesting background, all this stuff leading him to the person that he is today. Now, this is, again, quick, all smashed within a couple minutes. Then we go outside and he's got a guitar. And I was like, oh, dude, you play? Like, I can play a couple licks. I was like, thinking we might be passing this thing back and forth. And he goes, hey, I want you to listen to something that I wrote the other day. And I was like, interesting not knowing each other, right? That is very like, I had a one-on-one, you know, like performance, basically. And this dude opened with like a very aggressive, like opener, like singing wise, which not knowing somebody can put you in an awkward position, but just the confidence of this guy. I was more mesmerized in that way, where I'm like, damn, look at this guy go. And he sounded great, you know? So it was kind of a cool experience, but then not knowing he was doing this and then building towards that, I'm like, dude, this guy fits the mold. But going back to what I was saying, as far as having the examples of those people around you, sometimes it is tough. You know, it's like, you know, like you said, you're like, hey, we're going to make brunch, we're going to do this. And then you got a couple people like, nah, I do my own thing. Or you have the guy that's shredded, that's eating Oreos on pizza. Yeah. And all he does is, you know, he'll do like 3 sets of bench and he runs for 10 minutes and he's got 3% body fat. Yeah. You know, and you know, I'm not one of those guys. And like the balance of working out and eating right and all that stuff, it's like my fluctuations are so much all the time where it's very, you know, it can, or I shouldn't say it's very, but it can be very discouraging in that, because that piece, whether you're like, I'm never getting better, or you're like, I'll try this, but I know I'm not going to get better, whatever that is for you individually, that shit just makes it 10 times harder sometimes. Yeah. Or at least taking the actual steps. Because we've all done the, you know, like you said, it was like, dude, crash dieting, trying the new things. Everyone's like keto, paleo, this, that. And it's like, dude, I've done them all. Yeah. And I've had success for like maybe 3 weeks. Where you're starting to get like, oh, dude, I dropped 5 pounds. I'm feeling good. And then it's like, I'm good. And then start there. You know, it's the continuation of following through with that. Yeah. And, but it is an interesting point when you're saying like, you know, it's like, what is that example that I'm looking for? And sometimes like yourself, when you're saying like, hey, look, I met this guy, I've seen him before. I could say as far as like maybe your starting point levels might have been similar. And it's like, and they're crushing it. Like, why can't I do that?
Yeah.
You know, so it's very inspiring to hear that kind of stuff. And I hope with people listening that if you're in that state of mind, you know, it's like you can do it.
Yeah.
You absolutely can do it. And is it going to be easy? No, but it all depends on what your framework is on what's easy. Because it shouldn't be easy. Being successful is not easy. Nothing comes overnight, you know, and it's like, you know,
Great point.
And I think something that like, and I'm no example of being a specimen in that way, because what I think I can achieve, I'm like a quarter in. You know, like, but that drive to want to get better, whether it's mentally, physically, or spiritually, I just keep thinking like, you know, it's like, just keep going, you know, and that takes, and I feel like I'm kind of in the upward trajectory right now, which has taken me a long time to get to that point, because I'm very much just, I make excuses for myself constantly. And it's like, oh, I'm too tired. Oh, I got this going on. Oh, I can't fill this in. I can't do this. And it's like, you start saying I can't so much, you believe that shit. And then you do that over a period of years, and then it becomes just, this is what it is, you know? And it's like, that struggle is just always constant. But I'm sorry, I'm rabbit holing a little bit right here. But it's great to see the example of when it's working for people, and they're in a state that's your new normal, you know, because that's what we're all trying to shoot for, you know, or at least I think that's the most healthy thing to shoot for, is that you're setting that new standard. So is it going to be hard? Absolutely. But it's not going to be later. Just like if you went to medic school, is it going to be hard? Sure. No shit, dude. It's fucking tough. But once you do it, you get there, you get comfortable in it, you learn that new stressor is just going to be a part of life. Well, that stressor it's not a stressor anymore. Yeah. Sometimes even something, if you're really good at it, you can make it something you're looking forward to. And you use an example of playing Tetris with your food that I loved, because I hated trying to do that. I absolutely hated it. And then you know those stupid fucking, or pardon me, but those stupid things that you see on the fridge where it's like, this is how much protein you should have. This is your grains. This is how much fat. Yeah. I always laughed at that shit. And then I started doing it because I was like, I didn't want to show anybody that I was counting stuff.
Just move more.
But I would like, I'd walk over to like the piece of meat and I'd be like, okay, that's about a palm size, you know, like, and it's just little things like that, you know, but it's whatever that is for you, whether it needs to be like a complete shock value to like, this is the new way of life, and then you get through it, or you can implement little things that will stay there. You know, we were joking about fiber right before we started, dude. Changed a lot of things for me, being on a more healthy regulation of that. And, you know, and it's like, I wish that we can have a little bit more of an environment, like at least work-wise, where it was, and it's not that bad, but like it's more welcomed. Or like when you say like, hey guys, we're going to do this. Like, let's do this for a week together as a crew. Right? And it's not like, oh, dude, fucking, you don't want to get chips and cookies and stuff. And it's like, yeah, no, I do. Don't let me fool you, dude. I love food. I love shitty food. And if I could and look great, I would do it. But I'm not one of those people, you know? So it's like, instead of getting that blowback, be like, let's do it as a group, you know? Because it's like all the other things, right? It's for well-being, long-term, crew camaraderie, all that stuff. You know, and hopefully, as you said, this example, you know,
you got to quit caring about the blowback. And that's the thing that I learned, in that look, sometimes, you know, movie credits, right? At the end of a movie, you have your main characters, the people that actually have speaking lines, they have character names and all that. And then you have your extras. You have bouncer number 2, you have taxi cab driver number 1, key grip number 4, all that. Too many of us let our life be dictated by, and this isn't me, this is Ed Milet, so I'm not grifting off of him, but too many of us let our life be dictated by the extras.
Ooh, very well said.
Well said.
Yeah. Very well said.
The people that they're part of the story, but they're just background, you know? So, and sometimes even the main characters in your story push back against what you're doing. Because what I did was I made some very significant changes in my life. So it wasn't just the extras, but there were main characters that were like, hey, this is out of character for you. I don't like this. So,
well, it also brings up other people's like their insecurities.
Yeah.
You know, I've noticed that too.
Sure.
When you try to better yourself,
yeah,
when you're trying to push yourself to lose weight or get education or get a better job, promote, that you'll see other people's insecurities come out. And with that, it puts you down. They're saying, well, why are you doing that?
Exactly.
Who cares? It's not a big deal. Dude, eat the pie, eat the chips. Come on, let's have a soda. You don't need to promote. We make enough money. You don't want that stress. And sometimes I think, I'm like, wait a minute. Hold on here. Hold on. Like, I'm trying to better myself here, and you're kind of putting me down.
Yeah.
Like, shouldn't you be more like supportive, like pushing me to want to do better, you know? And that's something I learned in therapy. Straight up, they told me.
And they say, oh, well, you should be doing this. And one of the classic lines you use to disarm those people is, hey, if I listen to you, does that mean I'm going to get your results?
Ooh! Oh,
That
man.
I will write down. Yeah. I like that.
I might use that.
Awesome.
I might use that, Cory.
Yeah. And again, that's not me. That's Wes Watson, I think. But look, the bottom line is the man that can't suffer can't lead.
Oh, dude, that's so good.
And I was not leading my family. I was not leading my crew, my coworkers. I was not leading my wife as the husband that I should have been. And I wasn't leading myself until I learned how to intentionally suffer. And just like with weight resistance training, right? You're breaking down your muscle so that you can strengthen it. Progressive overload in all areas of your life, not just in the gym, but you increase your amount of suffering. So when the real suffering shows up, because nobody's immune, stuff's going to show up in your life. And it happened to me while I was halfway through this process. Life is always going to find a way to try and put you back in your place. And by increasing your tolerance to suffering, that way when it does show up, you show up as a much better version and much differently and handle it differently and better. So we were talking about excuses earlier, right? I use this excuse and that excuse. Well, that's why people do get, they go on the offense, right? And they mock you and they do this. Why? Because you are taking away their excuse.
Oh, snap. Oh. Dang, dude.
Because they used to be able to look at me, well, Cory is this way, so therefore I can't, whether it be my kids, whether it be coworkers, whatever. But now I've taken away that excuse. They can't use me as an excuse anymore of why they get to be a piece of shit.
Yeah.
No.
Because I'm not anymore. Mm-hmm. And now they can't point to me and go, oh, crap. Because now you're holding a mirror up to them. And anyone that said, oh, I'm just like Cory, I've had back surgery, I'm 80 pounds overweight, I drink, I'm depressed. And they use those as excuses. And now I say, I was depressed, I was 80 pounds overweight, I drank too much, I had back surgery, and I did it. So what does that do?
Damn. Probably puts them right back in their place.
Yeah.
They're looking in the mirror, like you said, like, whoa.
Yeah.
What am I doing in my life? Where am I at?
Yep.
You know, there's something that I want people to understand too is the discipline, not just like mentally or physically, but the discipline for that year and to continue on is extraordinary. To go that far, to push for that long, it takes a different person. You got to have a drive and motivation that's going to push you even when you feel uncomfortable, when you don't want to get up, when people are putting food in front of you that you don't want to eat. Like I always want to celebrate people who put in that discipline to get to where they want to go because we live in a fast food society. That's what I say. Meaning everybody wants this now, right now, right?
You can have it delivered to your house now. You can have McDonald's delivered to your house. Think about that. You're too lazy to even go to McDonald's to get the shitty food. You're going to have it delivered to your house now.
Right?
Yeah.
Ooh. Dude, it's a fast, so it's like, it's actually,
guilty.
Ollie?
Yeah, half my paycheck goes to
Uber
DoorDash.
Eats. Not to call you out, Ollie. I love you, buddy.
No worries.
But no, that discipline, and we live in the fast food society where everybody wants the quick results. Well, I just got hired. I should be a captain now, too. Come on, bro. Right? I graduated college. I need to be CEO. You know, I'm starting this fitness journey to get my life on track and healthy. Like, I want to see it's not. It takes so much hard work and discipline day in and day out to do it. And that should be celebrated because it takes a different person to stay on track for that long. Most people, I'll be honest, you can't. It's hard, right? It's too tough. It's too hard. I got life. I got this. But to see an end goal, you know, and my father always taught me to be goal oriented. If you have that goal, you have something to work for. It's going to give you that hope. It's going to push you and give you that drive. And I'm so thankful that you were open enough to even to talk about the mental health. I think it's huge for people in our profession, everybody. It's okay to say, you know what? I'm not okay. I've had to do it. I've used it multiple times with our department, what they offer, which I think is awesome. And I try to encourage so many more of our friends and personnel, like, it's okay to reach out, dude, and say, hey, I need to just get something switched here. Let's figure out what the root of this problem is, of why I'm going down these certain paths, to get me checked up here so I can start getting it here right, and then move on to that physical. It's huge, dude. So thank you for being so open with that, man. I respect you a lot, man. That's some serious hard work, but you're seeing the fruits of your labor. You know, you're seeing the results, which is powerful. It speaks volumes to everyone.
Well, the part that I would like to convey about that is, and thank you, by the way, I appreciate that. Yeah. You mentioned it takes a different person, which I agree, but what?
Sorry.
Clear.
Coffee.
Wrong hole.
Sorry, go ahead.
Ding.
I was like,
Jim's choking.
first choke online. Let's go. You should be okay. We can help you out here.
So you say it takes a different person.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it took the old me to become this new me.
It's like dying to self, right?
Yeah. So it was the same person. And I needed that. I couldn't appreciate the light until the pain of where I was at became greater than the pain it would take to change.
Yeah.
Then you're stuck. So, but you need that. You need the darkness to appreciate the light.
Damn.
And I was there.
Yeah.
And the biggest game changer for me was after I got off that infamous call with Kyle, he said, my brother's going to be contacting you. And I spoke with his brother. Now his brother is just as intense.
Really?
In a different kind of way, though. I love you, man. You're so great. Like it.
Okay,
he's
I got
that
you.
kind.
Yeah,
He's They're compression and compassion.
Yeah.
That's the two of them, right?
That's so cool.
And he gave me the key that unlocked my prison cell, and I don't even think he realized it when he was doing it. We were just having a conversation. He had also gone through the program, also had his own transformation.
Yeah.
And said something that was helpful to him that just completely blew the doors open on where I was. And I was talking about how I felt stuck, that I was going to be a piece of shit until the mirror or the scale showed me what I wanted it to show me, right? But I also felt it was impossible to get there, so therefore I'm stuck as this piece of crap. And he told me the one thing that was the game changer. And that was the guy that I am today, sitting before you right now. A year ago, I got to be this version of me that day. Because once I start with my non-negotiables, which now I have many more, but back then it was just get sleep, hit my macros, and get my workout in. Those were my only non-negotiables back then. He says, once you do that, you are doing the same thing that this guy does. You are him already. It's just going to take a little bit for your body to catch up.
I like that.
Yeah.
And so I truly believe that. And I remember vividly, I came up with this concept called the 2-day savage, or the second day savage. And that was, you start doing those habits and then you wake up the next day and you do them again. You're that guy. I got to close the gap of a year. I got to be freed from my prison cell of feeling like I was that piece of shit. And I got to feel like I do now because I'm doing the same exact things that guy does. The version of yourself that you're trying to be, we are doing the same exact thing. I'm just on my way to getting there.
Yeah.
And it took a while for that convergence to happen. It took a year before my body finally caught up to my mind. But I remember being 2 weeks in, being in the gym, having this epiphany. And I had multiple emotional events in the gym where you feel freed. And I was bawling in the gym. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm looking around. I'm embarrassed as shit. I'm crying because all that weight, that emotional weight, I got to shed it. And the stars came out, you know?
Yeah.
Like the clouds went away and I went, holy shit. Like I am that guy. I'm already him.
Yeah.
And so I used to call Kyle's brother all the time. And I would say, I got a secret, dude. I feel like I'm sitting on this secret. I already know I'm that guy. But the world doesn't know yet because my body still looks the same. And he would say, soon the world will know. And fast forward a year later, a guy that, I mean, could barely get himself out of bed in the morning. I was at the hospital till 3:30 in the morning with my oldest daughter who was in labor. She wasn't delivering. So they sent everyone home. Said, we're going to let her reset and try and, you know, let it go its natural course, or we may have to do like C-section or whatever. So they sent everyone home. So I left at 3:30 in the morning. Later that day, or at 8 o'clock in the morning, I had to pick my youngest daughter up to take her to the DMV to get her driver's license test.
Oh, jeez.
In between that, I went, if I go to bed now, my day is going to be ruined. And it's Monday, it's leg day. I need to get it out of the way. So at 4 o'clock in the morning, I did a leg workout, and I hadn't been to sleep in over 36
You're
hours.
an animal, dude. You're an animal.
Now, I'm not...
On leg day?
Yeah.
Oh, God. The worst day.
Yeah. I don't say this to try and impress you. I just say it to try and impress upon you and everyone what the difference is. That guy wouldn't have... The me from before would have crumbled and probably would have been hammered and wouldn't have been able to stay at the hospital that late to potentially see his grandson be born, or been drunk in the waiting room. And to go from that guy to being the guy that's like, hey, I got a crushed leg day in between my oldest daughter in labor and being at the DMV with my youngest daughter. And then I took her back to school. She passed her tests. I took her back to school and then went back to the hospital. My grandson was born. 2 days later, I got posted with Superhuman Fathers with a fucking six-pack in the best shape of my entire life.
Moment.
2 days after becoming a grandfather.
Oh. That's rad, dude.
So I don't even care about the six-pack or whatever. Yeah. I care that guy became this guy, and I can't wait to see who this guy then becomes.
Yeah.
You know? So yes, it does take a different person, but it also takes the same person. You have to wrangle that
I like that
version of yourself to become the new one.
Yeah.
Dang. I don't even know what to say to that.
That
was very good.
Bro.
Yeah. No.
The mental toughness.
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, dude, you know, obviously we're not trying to blow you too much on here. But yeah.
It's just skin, bro.
Fact. But no, man, it's so good to see and hear these stories, and not stories, because it's not like it's folklore. You're living it, you're doing it, you're setting that motivation. And it reminded me of, I don't know if it was a quote and who it was from, but it said that it's not about motivation, it's about discipline.
Yeah.
And discipline is what drives you. Discipline is what gives you the results that you're setting to achieve. And of all the examples that you've been saying, you know, I think that it just stands out the most. And I like how you put it. It's not that you're not a different person. You're the same person you were before, but now you have these disciplines. You have these life standards that you've set for yourself, and you've been able to wrangle in the problematic pieces and now make it what you want.
Yeah.
And so whether that's looking in the mirror and having a six-pack, which I've never had a six-pack my whole life. So that's
could.
I'm not saying
Look at my man over here, dude.
and you are right. And I will.
You're not gonna get a fucking excuse from me.
No. And I don't mean it that way, because I feel like I can get there. And that has taken, we'll sidestep the journey process. But having that and seeing the people around you that be successful in that way. And I'm not saying life ain't about a six pack, dude. It's about how you feel personally. And that's just, that is an added bonus that you like how you look, but it's just being comfortable in your own skin. So whatever that is for anybody, it doesn't, about a six pack, big, whatever. But just being happy.
Yeah.
Happy in that. So when you do look in the mirror, it's like, all right, maybe you can say like, oh man, I'm looking a little bit older, my skin, my hair, whatever. Like, but if those are your problems, you're fucking crushing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's really cool. And I don't know, we're out on time, but as far as like, I want to ask you some questions about sleep.
Yeah.
Because there was, you've said a couple examples of what your first things of starting these like zero barrier items.
Sleep was my first non-negotiable in this whole process.
So what did, I know the phones, turning off the blue light and there's a lot of studies behind that, but keeping your brain active and trying to stay away from the bullshit of social media, which I say that right now, dude, I do that fucking every night.
Guilty.
So what were like maybe the first couple things that you did that you were able to actually do and continue upon that you felt like, oh shit, I'm starting to feel better,
It was, well, we live two different lives, right? We have our home life and then we have our work life, and we don't get to control a lot of our work life. But my first step, which my wife loves, and my kids are older, so I'm in a bit of a different position here. My first thing was to control my go to sleep time. So my wife has always wanted to go to bed early, and she does it when I'm at work because she doesn't have the kids. They're with my ex-wife. And I used to stay up till 11 or midnight because we wanted to watch shows, and I wanted to keep drinking and chewing tobacco. I didn't want to go to bed because that meant I had to stop my vices. I can't tell you how many times I looked forward to waking up in the morning so I could throw a chew in.
Dang.
I used to nap with chews in a recliner, so hiked up just enough
So you don't swallow.
so I don't swallow.
I'm only laughing because I know exactly what you're talking about, dude. I was like, yeah, dude, stay up a little bit. Yeah.
So it doesn't drip down the back of your throat.
Yeah.
No.
Oh yeah.
So my wife was stoked when I was like, hey, I'm not doing anything productive, and I'm losing 4 hours of sleep doing it. So, hey, would you mind going to bed at 8:30? And she's like, hell yeah. So it sounds crazy, but I go to bed at 8:30 in the morning. Or in the morning. Sorry.
I was like,
my man.
damn, dude.
No.
24 hours of sleep, boys.
It works.
I go to bed at 8:30 at night, most nights, and it feels great, man. On the other side of that, I wake up at 4, and it got to the point, remember I said intentional suffering? It got to the point where it was no longer suffering. I no longer had to have that conversation with myself. Do I hit snooze or do I not? Because now my brain was waking up on its own before my alarm clock was going off.
Yeah.
So I would actually move my wake up time back so that I wanted that resistance. I wanted to win that battle with myself when I woke up in the morning, where the resistance is saying, hey, let's hit snooze. You've done enough. And I go, no, fuck you. We're getting up.
Good.
And we're going to get after it.
Yeah.
So on the flip side of that, when I'm at work, I control my bedtime, and I set my alarm for early, for 4 when I'm at work. And for each wake up that we have, I back my alarm off an hour until it gets to 7 a.m. 7 a.m. is the latest I'll go.
Yeah.
The first night of the 72 I just worked, we have 4 wake ups. I ended up sleeping till a conference call because we were up from 11:30 at night until 4:30 in the morning.
Okay, so you do an hour increment off each wake up past like
Your typical
11 or 12, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Your run-of-the-mill medical aid. Mm-hmm. You're up for 20, 30 minutes on the engine company because I get to send my medic to the hospital.
Oh, see you, boys.
I was like, bring it.
So I get back to the station. I don't get on my phone and go down the rabbit hole. I just say, all right, I back my alarm up to 5. We get another wake up. I back it up to 6. And I do that until 7 because sleep is my first non-negotiable, because I'm a living example. I've lived through the compounded interest through decades of doing this career that sleep deprivation has. And it screwed up my mind. It screwed up my spirit. It screwed up my body. So that's why it's my first non-negotiable. So controlling when I go to bed. And I realize some people have young kids, and when their kids finally go to sleep, that's their time to get stuff done. So everybody has their own deal. For me, that was the first thing.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that, and it's like, because that's something that I struggle a lot with, I mean, not saying I'm anything special in that way. I just mean that like, it's something that I always feel like in the back of my head, it's like, man, I don't get enough sleep. I never feel like I get enough sleep. And I do it, a lot of it I do to myself. And like you're saying, like, right, it's like that time at night, whether it's because you're like, dude, this is perfect. I have a couple drinks, throw a lip in, watch some TV, just chill. I want like 2 hours of just zoning out. Yeah. Well, the reality is in that 2 hours, unless you really wanted to watch a show or something with your wife, having a moment in that, otherwise it's just mindless zoning out. Right. So what, you can supplement that. Now I'm just saying for me personally, I've tried to get to bed like an hour earlier, and I'm normally like a midnight guy. Like I won't typically go to sleep until midnight. Now my wife might tell you different because I pass out on the couch sometimes, but those are situational dependence. Yeah. But what I've found is that when I get there and I get in bed and it's like, let's say 9:30 or 10, right? I'm trying to get that. What did you take any supplements and when I mean supplements, I don't mean like having a couple more drinks. I mean, any kind of natural things. Like I know there's not a handful. There's literally
like melatonin maybe or something.
Well, the melatonin, the Calm. There's a brand called Calm. And this isn't a plug for them, but it's magnesium with a couple other things that are inside of it. I think theanine is another one. But anyway, was there anything that you tried, or you just like cold turkey, get in bed, try to relax your body and get to sleep? Or
no, there's a couple of different things that help with actually being able to sleep that early. But to answer your last question about supplements, yes. The first supplement I make sure I get rid of is caffeine past a certain point. 2 o'clock is the latest I'll have caffeine in the day. And then after that, it's caffeine free, or else I'm just...
You're wired on.
Yeah, I can't get my brain to shut off. Yeah. I take magnesium, 500 milligrams, 30 minutes before I go to bed. I have an alarm set in my phone reminding me to do so. And then as soon as I crawl in bed, I take melatonin supplements. So that's what I do as far as supplementation goes. The other thing is I make myself so freaking tired by waking up early and getting after it in a workout and then a bonus burn after that, that when it comes bedtime, my body can't wait to go to bed. And then you do it long enough and it becomes a habit and you've reset your sleep cycle. What do they call that?
Not almost said Krebs cycle.
Yeah,
that is not correct.
That's the same thing I was saying.
I was like, different.
Circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
So I've reset my own internal alarm clock just by doing it enough. So if I were to try to go to bed early, but I had slept in that morning, didn't work out, just sat around, drank a bunch of coffee and all that, and then maybe I boozed at night and didn't do the supplementation, then I would definitely have trouble trying to get to sleep that early. So it's not just as simple as saying, oh, I'm just going to crawl in bed at 8:30 at night. There's more to it than that.
No.
So
how's that? I've started doing for the past month, and it's helped me in my sleep, of keeping my blinds kind of cracked and getting natural light to come in. I've kind of read some stuff where like it kind of releases those natural hormones in your body, so it's not like a rough, hard wake up where your alarm goes off, but your body wakes up naturally by the sunlight. Was that also in the sleep study by any chance? At least that you remember. I don't know. I just wonder what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I guess I'm not the right person to ask because I'm up before the sun.
God dang it, you're right.
Yeah.
It's rookie ball. Yeah. That's rookie shit, Tim.
Yeah.
Listen here, little boy.
Yeah. No, I now have the mentality of attack the day.
Gotcha.
Do the hardship first, right?
Gotcha, yeah.
And there's also something so cathartic and just so much. I'm so much more productive that early in the morning because your brain's fresh and there's zero distractions. At home, my kids aren't up. I don't have to make breakfast for anybody. My wife isn't up. I don't have to take the dog out. I get all of that time just to myself. I get a workout in, I do my reading, sometimes a journal, or I'll handle either school stuff or projects for whatever, but it's just me along with my thoughts. And then I'll finish my workout and I'll start serving my family. I have breakfast ready for the kids. They have a hot breakfast, pancakes, eggs, bacon, all that. I don't eat it. They get it. I have my own deal.
Satisfaction of smelling it though.
And then, and then just doing something for my wife, an act of gratitude.
I love that. I love that.
She likes her coffee a very specific way. So I make her coffee. I get the food ready for the dog. That way when she gets up, hey, I'll take dog out. Here's your coffee. Not because I'm doing it for a pat on the head or to try and gain credit in my emotional bank where when I screw up, I need to draw from.
Remember?
You know? It's just, I want her to know when she wakes up, hey, my husband did something for me, you know? So, and none of that stuff was I thinking about before a year ago.
Yeah.
You know?
No.
So I wouldn't have been up. I would have been asleep.
No, that's. I love that you bring up your wife, and we're gonna wrap this up, but I want to give her a shout out. I think it's very important to have that support at home.
Yeah.
Someone who's going to give you that. Because for me, when my home life is not well, I'm not good here or at work. I'm a mess.
Yeah.
So for me, I know I need to keep my personal life a priority. And I'm like you. I was married once, and I definitely did not do well in that marriage. And a lot of it, there's my mistakes, but a lot of it led from just I wasn't handling stuff at work well.
Yeah.
You know, that all that stress and everything that we go through. And that's not an excuse. But realizing, you know, when I keep my home life solid and we do those things of act of love and just the small stuff, it's not buying her, sewing a car or this and that, but hey, I know she likes her coffee this way. I'm up, I'm journaling, I'm doing my thing. I'm going to make sure I'm going to make that when she gets up. Like that speaks volumes. Yeah. That's huge. And I want to give a huge shout out to the ladies that support their men at home and how your wife has loved you through all this. It's important. It really is. And I think it's great that you acknowledge that and that you can see it because that's important for a healthy marriage. It really is, man. It's going to empower you because I feel empowered when I'm at home and my private life is going good and the person I'm with is supporting me and believes in me and is pushing me. And even the times where I don't want to do something because I'm tired or I'm being lazy, it's like, no, come on, you can do it. And feeling that love, it's such a strong love and that empowerment and the faith in you to change is huge. It's absolutely huge, man. So right on your wife, dude.
Yeah.
She loved me when I didn't love myself. Yeah. And what I spoke about earlier about how you assume people feel a certain way. I assumed, hey, I don't love me. Why should she? You know?
Almost like self-sabotage.
Yeah.
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 No, I feel you on that, but
she's a saint. She's a saint, man.
Oh, I love it.
That's awesome. Well, shout out.
Yeah.
Sure.
Cory, dude, you said so many good things on here that I know are going to inspire people. You're a great leader, dude. You're a cool dude. And there's so much more that I wanted to ask you and talk about, but we don't want to go too far in time. But
part two.
Yeah, I was
Part
saying,
two. We'll
you're going to have to come back another time.
Yeah, absolutely.
You are a fellow musician, which
I am.
I
Yeah.
love that.
We didn't
a
even
lot.
touch on that.
I
can't
know.
believe we
Dude.
didn't.
Oh my God. I know. How did we? Okay.
Like I said,
I
part
have
two.
so many
Yeah.
Part
questions
two.
still too.
No, we want you to definitely come back. Thank you for being so open and raw. It's important that people see that even people who are inspirational, we're human. We struggle just as much as anybody else. And even though our career field, we're in this position of serving others and helping others, I found myself, at least when I was going through therapy, I remember thinking and telling my therapist this, I can help all these people, but I can't even help myself. What the heck is going on here? And that's where I felt, that's where I was crumbling, you know, and you have to unlock that. You got to dive in deep. You got to have the guts and the courage to call yourself out and be introspective. Yeah. Look inside yourself and figure out, okay, what do I need to change? Well, like you said, I need to stop blaming others and using situations to say, oh, it's not my fault. This happened or that happened. And realize, okay, I need to change. Yeah. I need to change for myself, for work, for family. I want my next marriage or the marriage I'm in now to be successful, to do well, to thrive. You know, it's powerful, man. So I just want to tell you, and this is like no joke, from the bottom of my heart, dude, I appreciate you. Thank you. I really do. It's been powerful to talk with you and actually get the firsthand experience from you because we're watching. Yeah. I see I will say this real quick, dude. There was a time on your social media, you posted you were up at like 4 a.m. working out, and I was like,
This fucking guy.
I was like, all right, because I usually I try to get my runs in. I'm trying to get my miles up to get back to doing my 50 milers. And I remember that morning I didn't wake up. I didn't do it before work, and I was like, man, whatever. I'll do another day. I was like, okay, that's it. Tomorrow morning, I'm getting up at 5 and I'm putting my 15 miles in. It is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I don't do it to say, look at me. I do it because I know there are people out there that want me to fail. So I'm putting it out there to hold myself accountable.
Yes.
To say, hey, I need to keep doing this. I know you're waiting for me to slip.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to give you that satisfaction. So that's why I keep.
No, I love it.
Keep
dude.
up.
It's awesome. So thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, dude. I'm pumped. I know we've been talking about getting you on here and being able to talk about it. And 100%, we got to do a follow up because there's a lot more to Mr. Cory Gallup.
Oh, there's a lot to
than just being shredded. And no, I'm just, but I do want to say, like, the rawness, the being able to express the process in which, you said a lot of really good things, and not that this is meant to be just some kind of motivational cameo. I believe you when you're talking about your process, and I think that you were able to demonstrate a systematic approach that was not only just achievable, but able to sustain it. And you built off that. And I think, as someone who deals with, similar things as far as, the I can'ts or bullshit, just excuses, and having goals that maybe you think you can, or even if this isn't even possible in me, you've been able to demonstrate that you can do it. And I hope that when people listen to this, that if they're, if they look, obviously if someone listens and life is just that way for them, which there are some people that are like that, but for the rest of us, they're not. And it is a struggle. And, but that doesn't mean that struggle can't be a positive one. And then that struggle looks something that you look forward to.
Yeah.
And dude, just thank you so much. And hopefully we can get you back on here to follow up. Cause like we were saying, there's a lot more shit that I would like to talk to you about, but dude, thank you so much.
Also, if I ever get an overtime at your station, I am not working there.
Come on, man.
Nah, fuck that, dude. I'm getting up at 3:30. We're gonna be running.
I don't make anybody do it with me.
Oh, shoot. I'll work out with you.
I appreciate you guys having me. It was a blast. I would love to come back. If I can just leave with one final thought.
Absolutely.
And that's, there's when we were talking about past marriages and the mistakes that we've made and all that, as a leader, I know in our department that there are ways I can't treat my employees. There's SOPs, there's GOs, all that stuff that says, and progressive discipline, Weingarten, all that stuff.
A lot.
You know that you can't treat, especially as a supervisor, you can't treat your subordinates a certain way. You'll get in trouble.
Yeah.
But yet, what do we go home and do? How do we treat our wife and kids?
Yeah.
I would get fired or be involved in several lawsuits if I treated employees or said things to them or in a way that I said them to my spouse or to my kids. Now, I've gotten much better. I'm still far from perfect. I'll never get there. But the whole thing is I recognized that I was headed nowhere fast and that I was destroying my home life. And I was living a life that I felt like a fraud in, at home and at work. I felt stuck. So if you also feel stuck, if anyone listening feels stuck, they're in the same spot I was, first responder or no, hit me up on Instagram, the Superhuman Gallup, GALLUP. And I'd be more than happy to give you the tools that I used or point you in the direction, the thing that ended up being the game changer in my life.
Dude, hell yeah.
So,
hell yeah.
Yeah. So hit me up. I'll point you in that direction. And that is Superhuman Fathers, obviously. I mean, it's a shameless plug, but
please plug it.
There's no shameless.
Yeah.
Dude.
Speaking of that, is there an Instagram for Superhuman? Is it at Superhuman Fathers?
Yes, there is. Superhuman Fathers. I'm an affiliate coach with them, so I can answer any questions you may have about the program. as well as get you signed up as well. But
and we'll post and replug the handles and everything too. So hopefully, if there's any questions,
awesome,
we'll get it on there, man.
And if you are a first responder, there is a first responder component within Superhuman Fathers.
Nice.
It's a great place to go. It's our own Zoom chat. It's our own chat feed that, excuse me.
No, you're good. You're good.
That you can go in and you actually have extremely vulnerable conversations where guys are opening up. It's not like the kitchen table at the fire station, the treason table, where it's just all
treason table,
where it's all just shit talking.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's where you can go, open up, get vulnerable, and hear from guys that are experiencing the same things that you are, where you're trying to watch what you eat and work out while you're getting your butt run off on calls, wake ups and all that, and crews not being supportive and talking smack. And we all have similar struggles. So it's a great forum to be in. But yeah, hit me up, and it was awesome being here, guys. Thank you. I appreciate
you are welcome here anytime.
Absolutely.
Anytime, man. So thank you so much. This is going to be cool to post, man. I think it's going to inspire a lot of people. Really. It really, really will. So let's go on through. You guys ready?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it. 1, 2, 3.
Let's go.
Let's do it again. You get
Come on.
We say that in Superhuman Fathers all the time, except we say, let's fucking go. I'll say, let's go.
Well, let's go. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Let's go.
Thank you so much for listening in. If you liked what you just listened to, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and on Spotify. Please follow us on YouTube, on Instagram, and on Facebook. And a big shout out to Stephen Clark, our sound editor. He's a huge part of this team that is unseen. It's 89 Barbers, our first sponsor. Look good, feel good, be great. That's 2 locations, Orange, California, and Long Beach, California. Book your appointment online, 89barbers.com. Bye, everybody.